I can sing me home.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 KFGO. Good afternoon. Welcome back to The Drive. I'm Dan Michaels. Paulie Lyons, who's our producer. Paul Jurgens of the KFGO News Center. It's wonderful to have you with us. If you are a fan of Brian Shawn's, if you know Brian at all, if you are a friend of his, you got a little gut check here a couple of weeks ago when Brian himself released the news that he had been diagnosed with colon cancer and had undergone surgery and stuff. Hit me a little hard, and I was really surprised. And so today I was thinking about Brian, and I shot him a little note saying, hey, I was going to ask him if he wouldn't mind popping on the air via the phone and just giving everybody a little update on how he was doing. And I said, how you doing, Brian? He says, I'm fine. I'm at the office. Now, what? His recovery is going super well, and wanted to give everybody an update because I'm blaming the Bison loss over the weekend on him not being there. Would you please welcome back to the Mighty 790 KFGO, Mr. Brian Shawn, the television voice of the Bison. Hi, Brian.
Hey, what's up, Dano? How you doing?
I'm doing great, but how are you doing?
No, I'm doing really well. The last week has been really good. I'm up moving around a lot more and trying to stay active, and that's, I think, really helped the healing process with all this stuff. And my body's kind of settling down and kind of figuring out its new normal, which I think has been probably the biggest challenge. And it's done that. And I at the end of the weekend, I kind of looked at Jess and I said, I feel good. I'm ready to go back to work, and it's not like I'm, doing anything too hardcore here. I'm just kind of sitting at my desk and doing a few things, but it feels good to kind of get back into a routine again and, let things heal up here the next few weeks before chemo starts.
Well, Brian, everybody associated with athletics up at North Dakota State has undoubtedly gotten a hold of you and let you know how they feel about you. And we sure have missed you at those last couple of basketball games. We've missed you at the football games. But before we go down that road, I want to give everybody a good update on what you went through. Brian, let's go back a little bit. When you put out your information, and I've asked Brian if there's anything off limits that he doesn't want me to talk about, and he said, no, let's talk about it. So, Brian, you were getting some kind of checkup where you were diagnosed with some type of disease that makes you more susceptible to a cancer like you got. Can you walk us through what was going on?
Yeah, Dano, I always kind of wondered maybe if something was going on the last 6 months. I had a little bit of lower abdominal pain. It would come and go. It wasn't anything like that really hurt that bad. It was just discomfort. And I was like, who knows if there's just a food or something stuck in there. Whatever. But I had signed up actually about, I would say now, it was probably all 15 months ago, to go through the Stanford chip genetic testing. And just because they kept, I should say this, they kept bugging me to sign up for it. And I was like, whatever. And I finally just said, why not just do it? I just go in and take blood. That's as simple as it is. And then they do the testing and kind of let you know what's going on. Well, I was going to go in and finally do it after last season was over, after the basketball season was done. And, everything just kind of runs together between football and basketball. And I was going to get my blood taken. And then I just, COVID hit, and everybody stayed home. And I was just like, I'll get around to it. And I didn't ever do it until I went in for my annual physical last October. And I had to get blood taken anyway for my lipids. They took a couple extra tubes of blood for this genetic testing. I said, yeah, I've been meaning to do this. So just take the blood. And about a month later, I got a call back and said, yeah, you hit positive for this gene, this genetic disorder called Lynch syndrome. And I've come to find out, hey, do some family history, see if there's something that runs in your family. And I came to find out on my dad's side, it runs rampant in my family. My paternal grandfather died from colon cancer at 33. My dad's brother at 22. There's been a lot of people that have had it. My cousin's had it. She has Lynch syndrome. So they said, you need to get in for a screening. That you are prime age, early 40s to have this. And so you need to get a colonoscopy, as soon as you can. So a month later, I got in on January 29th. And as I came out of the fog of going through that, my wife was back there, and I'm like, well, why is she here? She shouldn't be in here. And doctors were telling me, and Jess was telling me, and they said, we got to get this taken care of. So I got referred to a surgeon. Things moved along quickly. 10 days later, I had it taken out, and then spent 6 days in the hospital. And now I spent the last couple of weeks at home, and it's just been a crazy journey here. I met with the oncologist last Thursday to talk about chemotherapy, and that'll be the next step that starts, and that'll be 6 months. and we'll just kind of see how all this goes. It's been kind of a wild few months here as we navigate all this stuff.
Brian, Shawn is joining us this afternoon. Brian is with Midco Sports. He's also with KVOY Sports. He does the television broadcasts of Bison basketball, Bison football, and of course is just a wonderful human being, and has been diagnosed with colon cancer. So, Brian, you go to this thing with Sanford, and they tell you've got this predilection to be diagnosed with colon cancer, and then you're diagnosed with colon cancer. That had to floor you.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. I mean, Dan, people have cancer all ages, all times, in all different places of their body, and you don't really realize it until you walk into the Roger Ramirez Cancer Center that you're seeing kids going through chemo. You see elderly adults. You see people my age. But it's one of those things. And the reason I've been kind of open about it is because we need to talk about making sure people are getting screened for this at an earlier age. Colon cancer, people don't get colonoscopies till they're 50 years old, and that's kind of the standard. But there is a growing number of people in their 40s that have this, and there's a lot of people right now that Roger Ramirez Cancer Center has seen it. It's increasing more and more every year. And March, ironically enough, is Colon Cancer Awareness Month. So I'm just like, my wife and I talked about it, and I don't want to be like this huge, pay attention to me guy. But people need to pay attention to this stuff, Dan. And even if it helps one person avoid having to go through this and a family having to deal with this, it's worth it. And so I think we just decided, let's talk about this and have the conversation. It's not fun to talk about your colon because it's, that part of the body that's not the most pleasant to talk about, but it's an issue. And there's a lot of people in their 40s and even younger that have dealt with this and didn't diagnose it in time. And so for me, I got a good shot, Dan, with my prognosis. I got a good fighter's chance of completely beating it. And I feel really, fortunate for that. But a lot of people catch it too late. You catch it in a situation where it has spread to other organs in your body, and it's really difficult to treat. So, don't ignore this stuff. Really take it seriously and making sure that you're okay, and don't blow off your annual physicals or going to the doctor, because a lot can change in the course of a year. Yeah. So that's, I guess, where my message would be to everybody out there.
Brian, you're allowing yourself to be a cautionary tale for someone else who might be dealing with this. So, Brian, what should people be looking for? What are the things that you should be on the lookout for when you might have a problem like this?
Well, and this is the kind of the tough one, Dano, is some people have zero symptoms until all of a sudden it's in a late stage. And that's why screening before it gets to that point is so important. Colon cancer specifically, you may not have any symptoms at all until it gets late stage, and then maybe you're feeling some fatigue, some discomfort. There's a number of factors where all of a sudden, they say to look for this, that, and this. But again, Dan, I wasn't having a lot of symptoms, and mine was already at a late stage 3. So it's like, had I waited another 9 months or a year, Dan, I mean, who knows what things could have turned into. So it's kind of, you talk about being a cautionary tale. I've never had a health problem in my life. I've never been in the hospital in my life. I've never had to take a prescription medication for anything. And all of a sudden you're 42 and you're healthy and you can't understand how this happens to you. But no one expects cancer to hit them, right?
That's right.
And so I think that's just one of those things that, pay attention to your family history, do genetic testing, just understand what things run in your family so that you don't get surprised as much as I was. And I should have been taking this very much more seriously than I was the last few years.
Well, I'm glad that you jumped on it when you did, though, Brian. Shoo. So, Brian, you're going to try to be back in the booth for the next home game. Is that right?
Yeah. I don't think they want me flying on any planes. I'm part of me really wants to jump in the car and go to Sioux Falls for the Summer League tournament, but that's probably not the wisest decision either.
I know. I understand how you feel, though. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna work from here. I'm going to contribute to our Summer League tournament coverage on Midco SN from Fargo and West Fargo, and do what I can do here. And then, my plan is, I'd actually spoken with folks at KVOY today. My plan is to come back March 13th for the Illinois State game and work the rest of the season. I don't see any reason why I can't do that. I feel really good. I'm walking, I'm back to 10,000 steps a day. I'm motoring around outside of a little soreness from here to there. My body is has really recovered well. So I want to get back to some normalcy too. I think that's good for me. It's good for my family that we just kind of keep doing what we do and not harp on this stuff every day of our lives. We just got to fight each day that we can, and that's the plan right now.
So even though COVID's on, if I keep my mask on when you're up at the Dome on the 13th, can I come over to your booth and give you a little kiss?
You'll have to ask Jess about that one. She's been pretty protective of me. She's not really letting anybody around me too much right now. But, as I go through the chemo process, I will have to be pretty wary of being around too many people, especially with COVID. My immune system and stuff could get a little funky as I'm going through that. But, hopefully in due time, we can all get our vaccination shots, and that won't be as much of a threat. And then this summer, hopefully not as much disease is flying around as it typically is maybe in the winter months. So, there's some things I'm going to have to do, but at the same time, they've told me to stay active, and that's what I plan to do here through this process.
That's great to hear. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you a couple of sports questions as we're getting played off the stage. Brian, Bison lost at Southern Illinois, a bump on the road or something to worry about?
You know what, man? I guess we're going to find out more this weekend, but the one thing I hate doing is I hate reacting to big wins and I hate reacting to losses. It's this program's lost 9 games in not 10 years, Dano?
Right.
I know as a fan, they don't lose in 3.5 years, and you just expect them to roll over everybody, especially a team that was embarrassed up at UND, and you can't understand how it happens. Sometimes things happen, things you just have one of those days, and they didn't play with any fire. They didn't play with a lot of excitement. And I think some of the young guys on the team, I think they learned a lot. There's some younger players that are filling some roles that have not played a lot of reps. This spring, it's all weird, Dan. There's just so many things that have changed, and people got to be patient. NDSU is still NDSU. There's a reason why they've done what they've done. Let's just give them a little time to figure it out and appreciate what's been accomplished, because this spring season is just not normal for anybody.
We love you, Brian, Shawn, and more importantly, God loves you. I hope you have a wonderful night. It's so good to hear your voice. I can't wait to see I'll wave to you when you're back up at the Fargo Dome on the 13th, okay?
Yes, for sure do that. I'm all about waves, and I'll send air hugs to everybody, okay?
You got it. Brian, so glad you're feeling good. So glad.
Hey, appreciate it, Daniel. Thanks.
You bet. You have a wonderful night. Say hi to Jess.
Yeah, thank you. I will.
Okay. See you, Brian. Bye-bye. God love that guy. 4:55 at the Mighty 790 and 104.7 KFGO.
Begg & Strinden Vision has been providing outstanding cataract care for over 30 years. There's a reason that thousands of people have chosen to have this delicate procedure done by the trusted and experienced hands of Dr. Strinden and Dr. Begg. Dr. Begg and Dr. Strinden are third-generation North Dakotans.